Welcome back. Trash continues to accumulate on many streets and highways in the Bronx. There are very few trash cans available, and the ones that exist quickly overflow. To address this issue, Anthony Ramirez II, owner of the Bronx Beer Hall and from the Bronx, and Stephanie Ehrlich, the executive director for the Van Cortlandt Park Alliance, join me to discuss possible solutions. I want to thank you both so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Now, as I mentioned, many residents have noticed the lack of trash cans on, streets in the Bronx. Is this a common issue for most boroughs in New York City, or is this something that the Bronx faces at a much higher rate?
It's interesting. I think that just as someone who comes from a park background, what we notice is that there aren't a lot of trash cans throughout the park. But it's not so much the number of trash cans that concerns me. I know you want more trash cans.
Always.
I think for me, what I'd like to see is people creating less trash.
Okay, and then can you expand on, I know you want more, so can you expand on that a little bit?
I mean, first of all, that's an excellent point, right? If we could create less trash, we need less trash cans. But, I think when I was first contacted about this report to share an idea, my immediate thought was I wanted to focus on something that was immediately actionable, right? So something we can get started tomorrow without having to go through any bureaucratic red tape. And so when I start thinking about cleanliness and the Bronx, to your point, it's not that we need more trash cans because it'll give people the incentive to throw their trash where it needs to go, but it's creating that culture of cleanliness where, you're supposed to put your trash in the trash can. You're supposed to pick up after your dog, right? You're not supposed to throw things out the car window or onto the sidewalk. And, it's community responsibility, and it's in collaboration with city leaders, but it has to come from us.
Now, I want to expand on the idea behind a culture of cleanliness. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, first, I love alliteration. So culture of cleanliness, I was like, we have to get that in there.
I love it.
And I'm just looking at my notes, but it really refers to shared values, attitudes, and behaviors within our community, within the Bronx, around cleanliness, around environmental stewardship, right? So we deserve to live in a clean environment, and we should all want to live in a clean environment. And it's, ingraining that in our culture, in the way we behave, in the way we interact with. When I say environment, it's not just parks, right? I love parks, and the Bronx has the most parks of any borough, right? The most parkland of any borough. But it's our streets, it's our neighborhoods, it's our restaurants, it's our sidewalks. Like, we should, if you see something, say something, right? If you see someone throw something down, say, "Oh, I think you dropped this," right? Or if you don't want to talk to someone, pick it up and throw it away instead of making a comment and saying, "I can't believe they did that." It's on all of us to keep our streets clean, to keep our community clean.
I love that. I love the sort of shared responsibility, because I think about personal responsibility, right? Like, I would be mortified to throw trash out my car window. Like, I would never do such a thing.
Absolutely.
But if someone else does it, it isn't about pointing a finger. It's about, you know what? I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to help, because it's a community culture of cleanliness.
Now, something that I've learned quite some time ago that I want to bring up again is that, in regards to COVID-19, there were budget cuts when it came to sanitation. How much is that impacting our community and, kind of in response to what we're seeing now in regards to trash on our streets?
I mean, I would say that there are budget cuts that are affecting all of us. So it's not just the Department of Sanitation. I would say it's all city agencies have received budget cuts. The Parks Department really bearing the brunt of that. And so it makes it very, very difficult to do the cleaning. So when there are such severe budget cuts, that means that there's a cut in the workforce. So if there's a hiring freeze, for instance, we're not able to hire more people to pick up the trash. But one of the things that I was thinking about is, with a culture of cleanliness, personal responsibility, and volunteering, if you are picking up the trash, that allows the folks who are working to do other things, right? So if there isn't as much litter to pick up, that means that the folks who are painting fences can get to that work. If they're repairing restrooms, they can do that. They can keep the bathrooms open and clean. Right. So that's people doing their part will allow city workers to do their part.
Now, Anthony, you believe the solution requires a collaborative effort. Can you tell me a little bit more about that effort?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, and as Stephanie just pointed out, right, it takes all of us, right? It takes a village, not to be cliche, but if we are doing our part to keep our neighborhoods clean, if we are teaching young people to have pride in their communities, if we're calling out our friends and our fellow residents, then we're all working together to make our neighborhoods more beautiful and to keep our neighborhoods clean. And that collaboration, like you said, it's not, I know there were budget cuts, as you mentioned, but if we sit around and wait for the government to do it for us, right, it's not going to happen. It's on us. We tell the government. They work for us, right? That's what they say. So if the government's working for us, then we have to show them what we want, and we have to show them why we want it. And I think that a big part of it is, when I say community, it's not just residents, right? It's our local businesses, both for-profit and nonprofit, that are also encouraging not only employees, but all of the people that they interact with to take care of and care for their neighborhoods. And once we do that ourselves, then we start speaking to our elected representatives to say, this is what we need here. You know what? We are picking up after ourselves and throwing things away, but we realize we're lacking trash cans, right? They just don't exist. I'm carrying it home because I don't want to throw it in the street, right?
Yeah.
If you're a good person. If you're a terrible person, you're throwing it in the street. I said it. I think a lot about, and I forget who coined the term, but there are a lot of pooper traders. And I think COVID-19, people went out and got animals, got dogs because they were home alone and they wanted some companionship. But for some reason, they missed the class on picking up after their dogs, right? So, we have to be really mindful of, yes, it's poop, but you have to pick it up and you have to dispose of it. Otherwise, I have to dodge a whole lot of it on my way to the subway.
Now, I also want to touch on the fact that you mentioned how it is a community effort. And I guess from my own personal experience, I have noticed how people will create their own trash cans, and tie it to the tree, and those would get filled pretty quickly. So, it seems that people are trying, and maybe they just don't have enough resources to, keep up with it. What tools do you think are needed so that people in the community can kind of take charge in helping keeping their communities cleaner?
So I think, that's an excellent point, right? When someone makes a space available, the space is used, right? And it's about making it the right space. And I remember your point was that, you've seen, and I've seen it too, around the Bronx, not just around the Bronx, but we're talking about the Bronx, right? Around the Bronx, if someone puts garbage on a street corner, it's inevitable that other people will start piling their garbage on top of that street corner. On my way here today, I saw one of the old FDNY call boxes, and the front was missing, and it was full of coffee cans, and because people were just shoving their garbage in there, which means they don't want to throw it in the street, right?
Right.
But where are their options? And which is why I, out of all the brilliant ideas in this report, I really focused on trash cans. Someone made fun of me the other day when I said, they're like, you said trash cans? That's all you came up with? It's more than that, right? It is this culture of cleanliness, because if you give people the opportunity to do the right thing, they will do the right thing.
Now, Stephanie, can you talk about the issue of dumping in the borough? Because I know that kind of goes a little bit beyond just like throwing, some trash around, around the city.
So actually, we've seen a real rise in people dumping really large things all around, specifically on park perimeters, also along highways. People, they throw things out the windows of their cars, but you'd be surprised to see that people take bags of garbage and just leave them on the side of the road. They're throwing away tires, and not just like one tire, but 50 tires. It's really, really intense. Mattresses, furniture. And what winds up happening is that depending on where it's located, sometimes the Parks Department will, the staff will pick it up, Department of Sanitation will pick it up, Department of Transportation, there are all of these different entities, but quite honestly, whose responsibility is it? Because there are so many different outdoor locations in the Bronx that, and throughout the city, that it's kind of hard to determine whose property is that? Does it belong to parks? Does it belong to transportation? Does it belong to DEP? So one of the thoughts that I had is that there really does need to be a comprehensive mapping of the city to sort of determine who's responsible for what. And the mayor's office actually created a new role. There is a chief officer of the public realm. Yep. And so the public realm kind of covers these areas that are not specifically parks, not specifically NYCHA, but like these sort of little in-between places. And I think with her guidance, with political support, I think that mapping could really be very, very valuable.
I think it's an excellent point. I just want to add on to that. I think that also, it'd be great to see a map of where you could dispose of certain things, right? I feel like we're all told to recycle, recycle, recycle.
Where?
Right. Where does it go? What's recyclable, right?
When?
Where can I throw this out? And we're learning that, through all the reports coming out, 8% of what's, something like that, 8% of what is being sent out for recycling is actually recyclable in terms of plastic. So, and when you don't know where to put your 400 tires, right? or your broken Xbox, for example, it's not recyclable. Do you throw it in trash? You don't want to get a fine. You don't want to deal with your trash not being picked up because then you have to bring it back inside. So, unfortunately, some people say, I'm just going to go dump it on the side of the road, and
somebody will deal with it.
Right.
That is exactly right, and someone will deal with it, right?
So, if there's a map, if there's a calendar of dates, I know that Orchard Beach does have some collection dates for items that can't be thrown in trash and can't be recycled, but they're not as frequent as they should be. And again, it's not as clear as what they can take, because I've gone there and they said, nope, take that home, because that's not for the landfill or wherever it's going. So in addition to a map, to that map, I think there should also be a calendar or map that shows where I can dispose of things and what things are actually disposable.
Now, where can people go to learn more about these efforts or support this? Because, we're not the only ones who are thinking this. There's so many people in the Bronx who feel the same way. So where can people go to learn more?
Well, for helping out and keeping the park clean, they can come to our website, Van Cortlandt Park Alliance, which is vancortlandt.org, but also you can follow us on social media, and that's VCP Alliance. We do lots and lots of cleanup activities throughout the year in all different places, in the woods, in water bodies. It's really fun. So we want people to come and participate in that.
And
first of all, I like that cleaning is fun, right? That's a good thing. It is a good thing. And it also gets you connected to people in your community.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
If for some reason you can't go to Van Cortlandt Park, then go to another park, right? Start your own cleanup group. But, in terms of what I do, as you mentioned in the beginning, I own several businesses with a mission to improve the image of the Bronx. So from the Bronx, we create and sell Bronx-themed merchandise. The Bronx Beer Hall, we're a community gathering space. Don't bring us your garbage. I can't help with that, right? But we can help in connecting you to other organizations that are doing work in the borough. And, as Stephanie mentioned, reach out to Van Cortlandt, reach out to Pelham Bay Park, reach out to Crotona. Every park has a friends of something or an alliance,
Absolutely.
right? So if you care, join them all.
Right. Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining me and having this conversation. It really is something that is close to me as somebody who lives in the Bronx and who feels exactly the same way. So once again, thank you both so much for joining me.
Sure.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
If you would like to learn more about Anthony and Stephanie's organization, please go to their websites, which are on the screen below. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Darren Hymie on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.